ectomorph, mesomorph. Remember we talked a little bit about that last time you and I was on there?
It has nothing to do with anything. It's basically just what their build is. So like if you're what is ectomorph, the skinny one?
Uh-huh.
Like look at any kid when they were in high school, they're probably an ectomorph. Like I was 150 pounds, I was 163 pounds, 65 pounds my senior year. And now I'm 2'5", 210, go to 215. So they consider me a mesomorph now. But back then they would consider me an ectomorph. So really, you know, with that, what we want to talk about is like, you want to be, if you're an ectomorph, there's not really a way to eat towards an ectomorph. And if you hear people talk about that, it's not that they're wrong. They're just not delivering the message correctly to you. Because if there's an ectomorph, if the ectomorph wants to get bigger, then yeah, you're going to have more protein, calorie surplus, you know, probably going through the strength training regimen to make sure they got their strength to a certain level and then hitting hypertrophy. Vice versa. If it's somebody that's, what's the one that's the heavy set one, Mike?
You got ecto, endo, and meso.
What we would see mostly the endomorph, and what some people would tell them is like, oh, you're an endomorph. Well, that's what their body type would be classified right now, but that's just what your body looks like and how it's put together, almost your body composition, because you could make a endomorph, a ectomorph. We just have to lose weight and then not worry about building muscle. If they believe that ecto, endo, mesomorph is things that's how you are, that's your genetics, that's not. Like, that's just how you're built right now. Right now, AR would be considered an endomorph. He's got extra body weight, he's got extra body fat. And then when we cut him down, depends if we make him muscular when we cut him down, then he'd be a mesomorph. Or if we just cut him down and didn't put that much muscle, then he'd start to turn into what looks like an ectomorph. That's what we see as personal training, is people that are more endomorph, and then you can move. And Mike's done amazing transformations, Mike, where you can watch him take people that would be considered endomorph, and like some of even your ladies now, bro, that you got were bigger ladies, and now I would consider them muscular. They're a muscular build now. My aunt had the gastric bypass surgery. She did lose weight, but she just looked like skinny fat. But she was I'd still consider her an ectomorph at that point. She's gotten a lot skinnier, but she had no muscle. So she wouldn't fit that prototype right there. Everybody wants to be like, oh, see, this is why you didn't get the results. You were an ectomorph. You should have done this. That's
right.
not necessarily how it works, you know.
Helps them identify it early on. Okay, this is the body type I have. And it just kind of puts a face on what it is we're saying, because people are very visual driven. You know what I mean? If you can show them this is what your body look like, and if you ate like this, this is what your body would look like. You know what I mean?
Exactly. There's a couple girls from my high school. They're doing great stuff, but they're doing boot camp workouts. So me and Mike know that's only one type of program design. So like when they put like, oh, it was a leg day, like that's cool. If you're doing boot camp leg workouts, that's great. That will never match if you go into the weight room, or we get some bands, or we get some dumbbells, we get some type of resistance like that. And so that's where, like with this meso and ectomorph, you'll see these people are like, he's some fucking jabroni on YouTube.
Actually been a gym enthusiast my whole life because of Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was my idol, my inspiration. He was the man. He was my mentor when it came to when I thought about fitness. It was Arnold. He really defined what fitness was.
And he was an actor.
No, that's what I'm saying. And he was an actor as well. When you guys talk about all this stuff, like the V-Shred, like I actually anticipated a lot of programs before. I was a small kid, 5'2", in high school, skinny as hell. I was only like 129, 130, and I was skinny. And I didn't actually start lifting weights until my senior year because it was part of my curriculum. They had a class weight training. So I did it. And that's when I actually started getting more into the fitness. And V-Shred is what I actually tried their program too. And like, don't get me wrong, like my endurance wasn't well, but I didn't stick to it because I wasn't fully committed. And that's the problem with doing these programs, because there's a lot of good programs for a lot of people. Is like, do you have that commitment to actually put the work into it, you know?
Right, and actively run the program, right.
Well, one of the big things people got to remember with like the V-Shred guy, if somebody gets you moving more, eating less, even if they're telling you some bullshit that's not even right, they're still going to get you in some. Let's look at CrossFit. They'll drink beer on the weekend and go party and do it. I mean, it is more of like a social gathering at this point with a lot of them, but they're in there doing these crazy high intensity interval workouts. So they're like, I'm losing weight because of CrossFit. No, you're losing weight because you're burning a lot of calories. You could go fucking rope cows all day and burn the same amount of calories, lose the same amount of weight. It's like the V-Shred guy, because he was making some bullshit claims. And I'm just like, bro, I was like, you make so many no science connected, biased claims. Like one of his promos is, reason you're not losing weight is because you're doing cardio. When you do cardio, you lose muscle. I'm like, goddamn guy, like that's not it at all. That is 100% false. He's always been very good at marketing and getting people excited and stuff. But the guys I like, they're called RP Strength, Renaissance Periodizations. They're a bunch of doctorates, master's degrees guys. They compete in bodybuilding. But he's talking about the V-Shred guy being a scam artist.
Doing regular, steady state cardio.
V-Shred is a superhero. He's here to save us from the shit because we know steady state cardio is bad because...
Just stop doing it.
Just stop doing it. That's reason enough for me, Mr. V-Shred. Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for Renaissance Periodization. I'm the creator of the RP Hypertrophy app and a professor of exercise and sports science at Lehman College in the Bronx in New York City. It is to critique and examine and parse and explain the V-Shred workout, diet, whatever advice V-Shred is giving out. Now, off to the races. Which body type are you? I have an answer to that. There is no such thing as body type, and science has confirmed that about 10,000 times. Body types are myth, so I'm not a body type. But let's see what Mr. V-Shred thinks about that.
You want to know what's crazy and what's sad about the fitness industry when it comes to getting in shape? People are making all these different fitness programs.
People like you, V-Shred.
But they're not talking about the most important piece.
Lying to people about results that they're going to get on your programs? Oh, I'm sorry, I digress.
Which is making sure that the program actually fits your body type and actually fits your goals.
Tell me you didn't go to school without telling me you didn't go to school. Let's hear about body types.
If you're trying to lose weight, the last thing you need is to follow my workout plan where I'm trying to bulk up.
Okay. The workout plan doesn't have a ton to do with whether you lose or gain weight. That's actually almost entirely dictated by your diet and your energy expenditure. If you're very physically active and you don't eat a lot, it doesn't matter how you train, you're going to lose weight. And if you're training hard, you're going to keep all of your muscle and lean down. If you eat lots of food and your physical activity is more limited, you're going to be gaining weight. And if you train the exact same way, just like he does, then you will gain muscle and gain weight. So really, the workout specific to your goals is already overstated.
If you're trying to bulk up, the last thing you need to do is follow some weight loss plan that's not going to work for you and your body type. And so
I don't think your body type changes when you pick a different goal. I'm sure we'll get to how the body type has anything to do with anything, but so far I just talked about goals, not body types. I get not doing a plan that's different for your goals, which also isn't true in this case, but how does body type weave in there at all?
What we did to combat this was we over here at V-Shred created a free body type quiz.
Thank God. I thought I was going to have to pay my own hard-earned money to take a body type quiz. Luckily, it's free.
That takes into account what shape you're in.
What shape you're in has nothing to do with your body type. The body type is supposed to be something that is immutable about you. It is a way that you are shaped, that muscle and fat are added into that equation or subtracted from it. But I don't know what he means by body type, and I guarantee you he doesn't either.
He's like, if you're an ectomorph and you haven't lost weight, it's because you haven't trained the correct way. And I'm like, what's the correct way, guy? Like, what are you talking about? But he'll make these crazy claims, and then you see the really cookie cutter workouts. Like I said, you give anybody a cookie cutter workout. We could give JR just some bullshit, and he's going to get in shape if he starts doing the stuff. But then when they just get to a certain point, that's the problem. And it's like the V-Shred guy. You see him do so good at the marketing, he gets a lot of people. But again, if you get somebody just to stick on it, but then you listen to like the science of this shit. And that's what we're going to talk about here with like our calories and our macros and stuff. You know, one of the biggest fallacies I've heard, and Mike, tell me if you've heard this, you know, it's like the fasted cardio, the keto, they think they're going to burn more fat.
As enthusiasts, I've heard a lot of things.
Tell us what you've heard and let us
As bear witness, gym enthusiastic, and I've always been a gym rat. I've worked out in several gyms. Like the one thing that people have always told me, you know, trainers and people that I've come across before I came on Ready Win, I've tried different approaches, different things with different trainers, different programs. Even Planet Fitness, their gym membership and all that stuff. The one thing that was consistent was that you have to do cardio. And the thing is, I used to do cardio when I used to play soccer. So I know how much cardio that was. I stopped playing soccer after high school, and you know, I started getting a little bit more because I didn't change my eating habits. So I gained a little bit more weight. But then when I was going to college, I took a break after college. I was in the best shape of my life for almost 3 years before I started working at Disney. And that's when things started going downhill because, you know, the overstressing and everything like that. But people always say, just as long as you do cardio, you know, all you need to do is cardio. My mom will flat out like, Papi, you got to just do the cardio, you'll lose the stomach. And I'm like, not only about the cardio, you understand, like over time, I got to really understanding a lot of things in my body. And like, I've cut out a lot of drinking. Like I'll partake in drinking socially, but I've actually could reduce my amount of alcohol content. Soda has been like in and out, but I've been doing a lot more better now, versus me drinking it every single day, every hour of the day, you know? So like cardio, yes, that does do some of the trick, but it's also other things as well that I've come to realize, you know?
For sure. It comes down to where the cardio is just a means to burn calories. So you could do anything. Me and, like you said, you played soccer. We actually had a girl in our last group, Micah. That's what she was doing for soccer. Sarah, she was doing soccer, I think twice a week. And, you know, any of those types of things. That's just what, like, you know, what me and Mike tell everybody in our group. You want to go dance, go with your girlfriend, boyfriend, significant other, and go out on the weekend and go dance and stuff like that. Me and Sam used to do that when we were in prep, and we'd be needing to get extra cardio in. So instead of doing another hour of cardio, we'd go out like dancing for a weekend night or something like that. Sometimes we'd have some drinks, but it'd be, again, you know, that's one of the things that's awesome with our program, Mike, is so many programs are like, you can't drink, don't drink. And I understand that because it's an easy way to reduce caloric intake. At the end of the day, if Mike, what's your drink of choice, buddy?
Yeah, cognac.
So if Mike does cognac and he records it and he's still in a deficit, he's still going to lose weight, even though he had alcohol. So that's one of the things that people fail to realize. And a lot of the trainers, JR, you've probably been given like a cookie cutter, like, hey, eat this off of this list or do this, or don't, like you probably heard a million people tell you not to drink your sodas anymore. And the thing is, you can have those. You just got to make sure, like if you're having 10 sodas a day and you're in a deficit, and you're losing weight and you're happy and your health markers are good, then we're gravy, baby. But if you're not losing weight, you're not happy.
Sorry for interrupting. Explain to me what's a deficit. And the reason why I'm saying this too as a moderator.
No, that's the first thing we want to talk about is actually what a calorie is. So what a calorie is a calorie is a unit of energy. What makes up a calorie is these different macros, and they give you different responses to the body. And Mike will talk a little bit more about that. But the thing is, like when he said that, every calorie is the same. They're just a unit of energy. There is no difference. They're all just a unit of measurement. And what he was meaning was the macros that the calories are built up of, they're different. Certain ones are going to give you more energy. Certain ones are better for recovery. Certain ones are going to give you better cognitive function and things like that. And so that's what he was talking about. But again, this is an older dude. He's been in bodybuilding for a very long time. He's not like me and Mike that have kinesiology degrees, undergrads, master's degrees, been in the field. He's been in the bodybuilding field, but the fitness field, I've been in it for 12 years. Mike's been in it for like 11 years. So we've been in the actual fitness field where we are working with general population. We see a lot different types of things. And that's one of the big things is that calories people get that confused. It's just a unit of measurement. And then the next thing that you got to step into is like, what are your macronutrients?
Macronutrients. So you got 3 types of macronutrients. You got carbs, you got proteins, and you got fats. With your carbs, you're going to get 4 calories per gram. With your proteins, you're going to get 4 calories per gram. With your fats, you're going to get 9 calories per gram.
The last one that's kind of sneaky, that's not really a macro, is alcohol. It's 7 calories per gram. So it's a little bit different. So like when you're, yeah. And so that's one thing that's what we say is the 4th macronutrient group is alcohol. But when you talk macros, Mike hit the nail on the head. It's really just those 3. That's when you hear somebody say, what are your macros set at? They're not talking about alcohol, but that's one thing for people to know is alcohol is its own category.
I didn't even know that alcohol has its own category.
Yeah, so alcohol is actually 7 calories per gram. So it's separate. So I tell people all the time, the thing is if you do, like I like craft beers and stuff. So like when I do craft beers, that's what ends up, because it's like fucking 200 calories a pop with a beer. And then if you do like a tall guy, then it's even more. That's what gets my clients, and Mike can probably attest to this. Some of my ladies are like, I only had a couple glasses of wine, and then their husbands train with me as well, and they'll be like Skylar, she had that bitch filled to the brim. So
Hey, right.
he's like that. He's
40
like that
ounce.
wasn't a yeah, dude. So old Edward 40 hands with the wine glasses. So that was
Crazy.
the thing is that you know, when people miscalculate, that's another big thing with the calories. They say, oh, I'm not losing weight and I'm in a deficit. It's usually miscalculation, like the wine thing we said. They're doing a double pour. Or I posted something on my story today, Mike. I reshared from somebody. I was a culprit of this all the time. You are cooking food, and then when you're cooking food, you take a couple bites of what you're cooking. Well, all of a sudden, it doesn't. If you've never measured food, it doesn't seem like much. But then all of a sudden, like if you measure, so like what I did when I had Olivia, she'd give me like crackers, or she'd have cookies and crackers. So I started tracking them. And like that shit adds up over time. So that's one of the things is most of the time these people are miscalculating that. And with the macros, that's one of the things Mike was talking about too with the ecto, endo, and mesomorph is the macros are really important for what you want to do with that body composition change. So if you're a skinnier person or even an overweight person that doesn't have a lot of muscle, then you've got to, you know, what most people would tell mesomorphs to eat like. You'd eat higher protein diet. You keep your calories low so you can drop body fat and change that body composition. If you're somebody, and people believe it or not, there are people that want to be the endomorph where they want to gain weight. I mean, think about it, Mike. How many guys have you seen? You train a lot of young men for sports. So how many of those guys have to get bigger? And it doesn't matter how you look. I mean, you don't want an offensive lineman looking like a bodybuilder. So that's even something too, to where you're like, hey, your protein has to be high, but we also have to have your calories really high. Then obviously the last one, the ectomorph, just being skinny. You don't have to worry. I mean, your protein still should be at a certain amount, but you don't have to worry so much about anything other than just being in a deficit. That's a good example, JR, of like what everybody was telling you before is like, just do the cardio. That's a way to put you into like an ectomorph or a skinny type of build. But if you did the weightlifting and the strength training and the stuff like what we're doing with our app, then that's when you could turn yourself into more of this muscular build or this mesomorph.
So there's so many different terms out there. You guys look at it scientific because you guys got a degree in that. But for someone like me who's just a novice or enthusiast or goes to the gym on a regular, well, not recently, but you know, I'm going there more often than I used to. But that's what I'm saying. The average Joe don't really know all this stuff. And the thing is that they're not even teaching this in school. They've cut the funding for programs like that. If we really do want everyone to be on the same page in the industry, need to come together and actually say, hey, this is what we're going to use as the term for that.
Yeah, it'll never get that way because there's nothing with fitness. Yeah, fitness is such the Wild West. I mean, I can tell you there's trainers out there that are used car salesmen, and then there's trainers out there that are like me and Mike that take more of from our experiences and from our knowledge and from the scientific side of things. And that's one of the things why we want to be doing these filming sessions and getting this content out there so that we can put this information out there and let people know. Because a lot of people, like you were saying, JR, they get sucked in. Look at the supplement industry. They get sucked into the marketing. There's a company called Shreds, Blackstone Labs, Redcon. They've all had lawsuits and been in a lot of trouble and different things for different reasons. But Shreds was taking people that were in really good shape. Then they were renting Lamborghinis and Porsches and fucking all these and, you know, G-Wagons. And then they would rent out a mansion and they would go take pictures and lift in the mansion and do shit like party in the mansion. Yeah. They didn't own any of this stuff, but that's how people's heads work. Like, person's in shape. He's with a real good looking girl. He's got a lot of friends. He's the life of the party. And they get him with that marketing. And that's where I agree marketing is an important part to get people in, especially with what we do. Because if you don't want to work with us and we can't pique your interest and build the value, then you're not going to choose us. You're going to choose somebody else. But they always end up coming to us because they don't have the other people don't get the results. They don't maintain the results. Mike, how many people do you get come to you that have been a yo-yoer? I worked with this person. I got in shape, but then I got into terrible shape and back in shape. And
I think once again, it'll always come down to the amount of knowledge that we're able to bestow upon them. I think it'll always come to us being able to explain what we mean. You have a lot of programs who just tell you what to do. You know what I mean? I'm going to give you this number. I'm not going to tell you what this number means. I'm not going to tell you that there's 3 different types of macro, you know what I mean? I'm not going to tell you that you have 3 different calorie types. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't break it down enough for a person to be able to understand it. So if something happens, you have to take a break or a tragic loss or some shit like that, then you have no clue. You have no plan of, if I just ate in caloric deficit or I brought it down this day, then it allowed me time to be able to eat with my family, and just the flexibility that we offer, the diet flexibility. A lot of things
100%
today are literally just, you do this, this, and this, and it's going to be that. Well, what if it doesn't work for this person? There is an alternative, to be honest with you. We have people, one of the things I was just explaining to somebody, people created a home gym during COVID, and then now they're personal trainers having people come to their house and train them at their house. I get it. I totally understand. If the opportunity was there, I probably would have done something like that. But on top of that comes the great training. On top of that comes the knowledge and the ability. For me, like I said, I want people to be independent. I want to teach them how to maintain without me. But I also have people who've been with me for 5 to 6 years straight. You know what I mean? And once again, that's a testament of the services. That's a testament of the knowledge that continues to grow, with the times.
And I will say that because I've tried different programs, and like I told Skylar, and we were talking before, and I'm gonna say it again, is that I've literally tried different things, and I've actually tested trainers to see how well they good and how receptive we are. How good are they knowledge base, how well easy could convey information to me, how available they are. Because the thing with online training and any kind of training is that, is the trainer available? Is the trainer going to help you out? Is the trainer going to push you? But the thing is that I give props to Skylar and another guy, but more towards Skylar, because when I've known Skylar for a long time, and the thing is that I didn't really start his program till like 3 or 4 years ago. I did his program, and and I told him too, I hated counting calories. That is the one thing that if you tell me to count calories, I'm already done. But the thing is that he conveyed it very well, because guess what? I'm still here. So
it's just like JR was saying, that we get a lot of people like that. Mike and me get a lot of people like that in our group, to where they don't want to count. And the cool thing is, if they don't get results, then they're more receptive to counting, because then we can get, if we have everything tracked, there's no way we can't get you where you want to go, because it's math and science. That's it. But some people schedule life, if they've done it before. I know when I get out of bodybuilding shows and stuff, I don't track for a while, and sometimes I wait till I get back into season again, because it is tedious and stuff like that. But then, like we said with JR, told JR, like, hey, track for a while and get used to eyeballing it, and then if you're still dropping weight, then we're still in a deficit, so we're fine. Or measuring cups. Been a lot of people that me and Mike have had in the groups where we do measuring cups. But that's one of the cool things I was going to tell you, Mike, is that we get people sometimes where they don't seem like they're doing the program, or they fall off of the program, or maybe they fall off at the beginning and then pick it up at the end. But the cool thing is, the way that we have our coaching portal, they get all the information. So even if they're not doing it or not able to do it at that time, they get the information and the knowledge. And that's one thing I've heard from almost every person that's went through, is like, yeah, I wish I could have done it more. The kids and their kids programs and sports got in the way a little bit, but the information, I'm going to be able to keep using it to get results. So that's one of the things I'm super proud of what we do, is being able to give them that information across. And then the thing is, like, Mike, if they talk with us, we're super engaging. But like, when you're not talking, we can only do so much. It's like school. I tell people, I'm like, if you don't tell the teacher you need help, they're not psychics. They're not going to know. You gotta at least, even if it's talking to them on the side. But we've had groups where there's been people that I was like, fuck, nobody in this group did it. And then I had people message me, I lost 5 pounds. I lost 15 pounds. I'm like, well, shit, I guess they were doing it. They just weren't talking to me and Mike. And as like me and Mike say, we'd love to have more engagement from people sometimes. But the other thing is, if you're getting results and it's working for you, that's what it's about. It's all about flexibility.
And that's what I was telling you on the broadcast when I sent to you guys, because I was like a snippet of me just talking about the program. The thing, what I was saying in that small broadcast, was that you're pretty much the only program that I've actually come across that is catered to the average Joe. Like, you understand, like, how that is a very, very influential and very selling point as well. Because the thing is that people, trainers, fitness, everyone that's doing training, they don't think about what's happening on the person's spectrum. You know what I'm saying? Like, the other guy that I was training with, he was really good trainer, but like, I told him that, hey, I've never really measured stuff before. Can you actually go on a video and like show me, like, step by step how to do it? Never did it. Never did that stuff. So I had to do it on my own. And it's
Mhm.
frustrating. But at the same time, I was having a lot of stuff in my spectrum. You know, life doesn't hold for nothing. Like whatever happens, you know, you get sick, you catch COVID, you're watching your grandparents, there's a lot of things that are happening in your spectrum that they don't consider that. And that's
Mhm.
the thing that I realized about his program. And that's why a lot of people weren't engaging, because I was one of those people that didn't keep. You're like, buddy, when are you gonna send me your stuff? Shit, my bad. Let me send it. And then you'll get like different notifications of all my messages coming at once.
People are so worried about eating carbs and getting fat from carbohydrates for different reasons, the insulin, it being a carb. So I want them to go through and talk about that a little bit so we can debunk some of that. Because one of the things with thermogenics is what the amount of energy that it takes to break the food down. So when you have protein takes the most to break down. I've got the number here on my computer. I don't want to pull it up right now, but it takes the most energy. I think it was like 20 to 30% for the thermogenic effect on protein. And then your carbs was like 10 to 20%. So it was the second. The carbs was 4 calories per gram, but it took the second most energy to break down. And fats are 9 calories per gram. So when you hear people saying fats don't store as fat, fats do store as fat. They're 9 calories per gram. They're higher than alcohol, protein, and carbohydrates. And they take, I think it was, what was it, Mike? Like 0 to 3% thermogenic effect. So it's like a very easy source to break down and store. So you don't use a lot of energy. So it's the most calories and it takes the least amount of energy to store. So you're storing the most calories with it. So, I mean, we used to say it back in the day because that's what they were teaching us, but fat does store as fat. So the thermogenic effect of food, that's why you see higher protein diets. Sometimes people with higher protein diets are burning more calories at rest because it takes more to burn that protein down. So even if you match your calories, but somebody matched their calories and had more protein than you, but matched the overall calories, that person with more protein is going to burn more calories at rest than you are. And so that's something that's important to educate yourself on. It's something we talk about in our program, Mike. And that's kind of the thing that we're going to go into here is talk a little bit about more how the energy sources are burnt. I'm going to let Mike talk about people that still think that you burn more body fat when you do cardio fasted. And I'm going to let Mike talk about the people that I mean, if you do keto because you like it and it feels good, that's great. But if you're doing keto because you think carbs make you fat, that's incorrect. And it's been proven over and over again. So I'm going to let Mike go ahead and touch on these a little bit.
It doesn't matter if it's a fasted cardio. It doesn't matter if you do it on an empty stomach, full. It doesn't matter. The one thing that matters is that you continue to be in caloric deficit. If losing weight is your thing. If not, if you want to maintain, then you maintain. If you want to be over, then you have to be over if you want to gain. So then you will be in caloric excess. So I think people are getting caught up in, once again, these fad things. I'm going to get up every morning. I'm going to fast cardio. And it's, well, if you fast cardio and then you go out and you eat 3,600 calories, then once again, your caloric window for that day may have been 2,700. If you ate 3,600, it does not matter that you fasted before you went to cardio. You're still going to be over, so you won't see a loss. So your results will kind of be up and down.
And you get the people too that think, okay, I'm going to be in a calorie surplus, but since I'm doing cardio with nothing in my stomach, I'm just burning body fat. So I can be in a surplus but keep a lower body fat. Well, when you have no carbohydrates, you will burn body fat. You will burn fat. It's called fat oxidation. You'll use fat as a fuel source. Once you eat carbohydrates, your body uses carbs as a fuel source. So then it goes to carb oxidation. But like Mike said, at the end of the day, if you use fat as an energy source all day and ate 1,500 calories, or you ate carbs all day for an energy source and ate 1,500 calories, you're going to lose the same amount. If you're in the same amount of deficit and you match calories, you're still going to drop the same amount. So that's the thing that people got to get over: the carbs making them fat, the fasted cardio burning more fat, because you can't outsmart the body. So at the end of the day, it's going to level everything out. And why don't you just go ahead and debunk them on that, Mike? Because we get a lot of people that come into our groups that they want to be keto, which is fine if you like it. But if you're like, I'm doing keto because I gotta lose weight, I gotta drop fat, then you don't have to do it that way. If we find out like you like keto and we put you in a calorie deficit and then you're like, this sucks ass, we can move you out of keto into a different type of diet, but still keep you in that deficit.
I think people fail to realize that carbs are their energy. Carbs actually acts as the fire that fuels our workouts. So say we got a workout and that workout is leg day, and we say we're going to do leg day without no carbs. Well, you could expect to be dragging ass, and you could expect to not be hitting your mark because you don't have that good fuel. So when people talk about carbs being so bad or not being something that they should have, I'm just going to get rid of my carbs, get rid of my carbs. Well, you put yourself in a position to also lose muscle. You put yourself in a position to not be able to see those gains. So I personally feel like it's really tough to say you're going to cut out all your carbs and participate in a hypertrophy program or to, you know what I mean,
100%.
and see great results. Once again, we have to get away from that notion of carbs being bad for us, because once again, just like you were saying, the body, you can't outsmart the body's regulator. Without those carbs, the body starts to kind of tank and it starts to misfire, misperform. Same way with the fats. Without the healthy fats in your diet, then you start to experience the same thing. Brain fogginess, the body's not performing, you know what I mean, at that high level. So, I mean, any one of those that we mentioned, if you attempt to take one of them out, I mean, protein's probably the one that everybody's the most familiar with. It's probably the thing that people live by, die by. But without those other two, man, you can't say that you have a well-balanced diet that's catering to your program.
I think they just had a study that showed, BioLane just posted about it, though. It was talking about cancer with meat consumption. And what they found out is that if you had a higher meat consumption and lower vegetables and fruit, then it did affect your chances of getting cancer. But if you had less meat and higher fruit, or more meat and matched the fruit and the fruit and vegetables, I should say. So they did the study with low meat and high vegetables and fruit. That group was low getting cancer. Then they did a group with high meat and low vegetables and fruit, and that group was higher in getting cancer. When they made the meat high and the vegetables and fruit high, it was the same as the high vegetables and the low meat. So that's why the studies are so important, because then when you look at it, if somebody looked at it and didn't know how to read studies, they'd be like, oh, you eat a lot of meat, you're getting cancer. You have to eat more vegetables and fruit and low meat. That's what it's got to be. Well, when they had the high meat, the high vegetable group, that group also was low getting cancer. And so those are the things right there where, like that girl we had that did carnivore diet, we let her do it, but hit the nail on the head. Carbohydrate is your primary fuel source. When you get to higher heart rates, if you start to get lightheaded and dizzy and all that stuff, that's because you're running out of carbohydrates. Your body runs off of carbs at a higher heart rate. Your body runs off of fat at a lower heart rate. Now, like we said earlier, whether you're burning carbs or burning fats, the end of the day, energy balance is what really matters. But if you take somebody in the gym that's ran out of their carbs and give them some orange juice, boom, you just gave them a simple carb, they're ready to go again. Because now they've got that energy source and it gets in there quick because it's fruit and it's a simple carbohydrate. You can also take those people that are starting to get lightheaded and don't have carbohydrates present and they're starting to get foggy in the workout. You can just do smaller lifts with them. Biceps, triceps, shoulders, sit them down for shit instead of having them stand up. Don't do compound movements. And since their heart rate's not getting real high, they won't get lightheaded and dizzy because we have body fat to run off of. You also have the fat that you're eating in your diet to run off of. And we all know most of us have body fat to run off of. That's what gets hard with bodybuilding at the end, because you only really have, when you're getting close to that show, what you're putting in food-wise, because you're so low with body fat stored on your body that you don't have a lot of energy to run off of with that. And that's one of the other things that people think is the insulin response. I want to get that out here too. The insulin response from carbohydrate consumption, they think that causes them to gain fat and body weight. Well, you have an insulin response in the body. When you eat a certain amount of protein, you still get that insulin response. So there debunks that. If insulin and carbs cause you to be fat and gain weight, why does insulin and protein not? So then again, you can look at it just from a common sense perspective, but a lot of people, they get caught in the marketing schemes and all that type of stuff, and that's what gets these people. That's probably the biggest two I hear right there, Mike, is the fasted cardio and then the carbs making you fat, the insulin response making you fat. One of the things that happens, people, when you do keto, this is huge. When you do keto and you lose 5 to 10 pounds in like 1 to 2 days, carbohydrate molecules have to be paired with a water molecule to be transported in the body. So once you get rid of carbohydrate molecules, you get rid of those water molecules that have to be paired and binded to them. So you lose water weight. So anytime anybody does keto, you're going to lose 5 to 10 pounds off the bat, but then it's going to level out. So the people that are eating higher carb diets, though, they might weigh more than you, 2 to 3 pounds. But if it's just water weight, if they cut their carbs, they would come down too. So that's one of the big things with keto is people are like, I lost 10 to 20 pounds in like a week. I'm like, well, you know, when you quit eating carbs, you don't have water molecules as present. And so that's one of the other things with the cutting carbs is if you're in the same deficit as you are when you have carbs, you're going to lose the same amount of weight. Mike hit the nail on the head when he was talking about the fasted cardio. It's like, if you do it fasted, think about it. If you have a meal and do a workout, are you going to be able to put more intensity and output into the workout? Or if you go in there hungry and not eating, you're going to be able to put more into the workout when you have food and you have energy. So then in turn, you're probably going to burn more calories. Wouldn't you agree? So that's why even the fasted cardio, I've got some guys on the bodybuilding team that like to do fasted cardio. So if they like to do it, I'm like, more power to you. But I always tell them, I'm like, just to let you know, it's not doing anything special. Like it's about being at the deficit at the end of the day.
I think for me, it's more of a feeling. Like I don't do it because I expect to beat the macro number. I do it because of the body feeling. I do it because of that empty feeling and running up and down and not feeling like I got my whole 2 or 3 meals. You know what I mean? It's never about trying to cheat my macro or feeling like I can break even. It has nothing to do with my numbers. It's more of a preference for me.
And that's the time that you do it. That's the time that you tell people like, okay, if you like to do it. There's some guys that have won, like the guy that's won the most men's physique first places and overalls of all time and won the Arnold like 3 or 4 times. he got called out by BioLane because he was trying to tell people that fasted cardio makes you leaner. And then BioLane was posting the science behind it. But that's the thing is like, if he would have said, hey, I'd like to do it because I like to be on an empty stomach. I like to have the mental toughness while I'm doing it. It reminds me back of when I was playing sports and we had to go out and do it in the morning and we were hungry. Those all make sense. If you think you're actually going to drop more body fat, then it doesn't make sense with it. If people want to lose weight, and that's probably, I'd say 90-95% of the people we see, when they want to lose weight, they want to be in a deficit. Why don't you go ahead and give them the details on it? Because that is the biggest majority of people that we really do work with and will work with is weight loss.
Well, most of the time you're going to be in a caloric deficit. And usually what that looks like is just basically us scaling everything down. So you would no longer be in maintenance because I think it really just comes down to understanding where you are in your journey. For me, caloric deficit, I usually try to do 500 to 700 calories below. If I'm 500 to 700 calories below on top of a nice workout regimen, then it's fairly easy for me to get somewhere between 3 to 5 pounds out of them a week. So,
what Mike's saying is 500 to 700 calories below maintenance calories. And actually, a lot of you guys already would know what your maintenance calories are because most people are maintaining. Even though they want to lose weight, they're staying the same, right? A lot of people aren't gaining weight on a normal basis. They kind of gain weight and then plateau and stay the same. So when you're staying the same, that's one thing I tell my clients, and Mike tells his clients that are brick and mortars is just track what you're eating for a week. We'll see what you come out at the end of the week. And if your weight hasn't changed from Monday to Sunday, then and we just average all those days. Now we know our maintenance. Another way we can do it is if people don't want to track it or they haven't been tracking it, we'll take their basal metabolic rate. And then there's some formulas, Harris Benedict, I believe, or Benedict Harris. But there's a formula where you'll take the basal metabolic rate and you just get that from your height, your weight, your age. There's calculators that do it online. And then you take it times your lifestyle. So if you're sedentary, you take it times like 1.2. If you're moving around a lot and doing a lot of stuff, you take it toward times like 1.8, 2.0, something like that. Again, the most important thing that happens is that if you found your basal metabolic rate, set your calories, set your macros, the most important thing is after 1 to 2 weeks of doing it, if you've been tracking, is to look at the numbers and see if you've lost weight. Because if you've been tracking and you've set a goal and you haven't lost weight and you really hit those numbers, then like Mike was saying, you either got to up the workouts, you got to drop the calories down, or, you know, what happens a lot of times is people fall off a little bit. I mean, you see it all the time where they eat at a deficit during the week, and then on the weekend they go into such a high surplus that they average it out. So then there is no weight loss there at the end of the week. They might lose weight by Friday, but then on Saturday, Sunday, they start to bring it back up and stuff. And so that's what Mike was talking about, being under. And then it's the same thing. That's kind of the number I use when I go into a surplus too. It depends if they want to do like the clean bulk, I'll do like 100 to 200 calories over their maintenance. But if they're wanting to do, you know, a surplus and like a serious bulk, I'll usually go 250, 500 calories over their maintenance calories.
Yeah, so calorie surplus would basically just be the opposite of what we were just explaining. not many people come to us for weight gain, but typically if you're getting into the bodybuilding or you're looking to add some mass, like you were saying, 250, 500 for me, I'm always in like the 150 to 200 range, because typically when you give people a surplus, it's really hard to stop people from jumping off the cliff. You know what I mean? So I kind of like to slowly walk them.
They'll take them
For sure. Oh my God, he said surplus. It must mean that yeah, exactly. So surplus, like I said, is you over your daily. We're taking your daily caloric intake, what it would be, or what you were using to maintain, and we would usually add, like I said, maybe two. Like Skylar was saying, 500. Typically, if we're gonna add 500 to it, you working your ass off. Because if not, that ends up being a dirty bulk.
Yeah, 500 would be 100% like your dirty bulk, like where you're gonna put it on quick. You're gonna put the size on quick. You put some body fat on quick. That's typically what you're seeing with more physique athletes, because we're gonna bring it right back off. So like usually with general population, it's almost always what Mike said. Sometimes it might be 50 calories over. It might be that low, because what you'll do is you will reverse diet up. One of the big things is that when people go down to low calories, that's what causes the yo-yo effect. Is they'll go down, let's say they go down to 1,500, and then they start eating 3,000. Well, now you're 1,500 over what your maintenance was, because eventually 1,500 will become your maintenance. So let's just say 1,500 is your maintenance. If you eat 3,000, you're doubling that. So you will gain body fat quicker. If you took that 1,500 and did like what Mike was saying and did 1,650, 1,850, 1,950, and you just slowly inched it up, and not even every day inched it up, maybe every 3 days, maybe once a week, just depends on if you're gaining excess body fat. But that's what people would consider a clean bulk, or what we call reverse dieting. And that's the safest way to keep your lines and your definition. I've seen people, Mike, from Dr. Norton. He also does physique coaching, bodybuilding coaching. I've seen him have athletes that 6 months later, they were eating 2,000 calories more, and they only gained like 3% body fat from stage. Yeah, it's insane, dude. Well, also, guys, that's what helps when you come work with a coach, because if you just up the calories and the output, the intensity of the training stays the same, you will gain weight off of that. But if you add the calories and then the intensity increases, and then add calories, and maybe you add an extra day of training, as you continue to add calories, you should be able to train harder, more frequently, things like that. And so that's what is happening with these people. It's not just adding the calories slowly, it's also the
workload goes up as well.
Workload, intensity, all that frequency, all that stuff will go up, and everything like that. Mike, talk a little bit about how we incorporate. Feel free to jump in too, JR, because you've done the program a couple of times. So I'm going to let you guys kind of talk about how we incorporate all these things.
So basically, our program allows you to have some diet flexibility. It allows you to understand what your macros are for you on a personal level. Once we get your understanding of your macros, then we can teach you how to count your macros. What gets measured gets weighed. So once again, you can't say you're going to go into a fitness program and you're not going to measure your macros. You're not going to understand what each calorie means, so that you can actually create a balanced meal that tastes good. I think people have allowed themselves to be put in a corner, because when they hear the word macro, or they hear the word calories or carbs or whatever it is, they feel like it has to be the most bland. My diet has been awesome. I've allowed myself to have some flexibility, just by understanding what each element means to my diet, understanding how on my leg days I'm going to up my carbs, because I want to be able to perform at that high level when my heart rate is the highest, or knowing that I'm going to have a crazy weekend. So the beginning of my week, I'm going to make sure that my diet is really clean, so that by the end of the week, I'm still able to be where I need to be. Once again, I feel like it's an asset. I feel like it's something that we offer to everyone. JR was saying how one of the trainers that he was with, they were asking him to measure something. He had no clue of how to measure it. So all he did was ask for a simple video of how to measure the foods. Once again, those are small things that are going to make you feel like you're taking some of your power back. I send you the video. You understand how to weigh your food now. Now you may not need me. Now you may become this big calorie macro guru, because that one simple step of allowing me to teach you how to measure your foods. I think it's a program that caters to the everyday person, the person who can't be put in a box, the person who can't have that cookie cutter diet where you're just told to eat meat, veggies, and shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? That's typically what I see these days. People aren't allowing people to be themselves. They aren't allowing people to understand food and how it benefits you.
Mm-hmm. I do want to say one thing real quick. We had a girl that lost 30 pounds recently in one of our groups. She was also at the beginning of our program working with a weight loss doctor, and they were talking about getting her into ketosis, which is the low carbs, and we debunked all that earlier in the video here. But they had her eating only protein, then they did very little vegetables, no carbohydrates at all. But she understood. That's why she came to us, because she was eating that way, and she knew that way was not sustainable. So then, and that they didn't give her any workouts, but when she came to us, I broke down the calories for her. I gave the amount of the ounces of protein they were allowing her to eat, and they didn't really allow her a lot of vegetables early on. So I broke down what it was. She was only eating like 1,250 calories, 1,375 calories. So I told her, I was like, you're eating so little calories. It's all protein, which is great because you need that for building muscle and recovery. But I said, you're eating so little calories that if she ate only 1,375 calories of all ice cream, she still would have lost 30 pounds. Now, she wouldn't have felt as good. The protein helps maintain muscle, all this different shit. But the grand scheme of things is just like Mike was saying, with our flexible diet approach, if you want to eat that way and she wanted to eat that way, we were able to coach her that way. And then as soon as she started realizing that wasn't going to be sustainable, we were able to flip it to more of a flexible approach and do that. And that's one thing we've done with JR too, because JR is a busy man. He's got a lot of stuff going on. And why don't you go ahead and let him know a little bit, JR, about how your experience was with us. So and I do want to say this, JR, that goddamn guy, you don't even have to shoot a video of yourself, dude. You can find a fucking video on YouTube and send it to your client and be like, hey, here's a video. They did a real good job of measuring. I mean, come on, dude. That's just a lazy son of a bitch. Like, I mean, if you film it yourself, great. That's awesome. That's going beyond and it's amazing. And eventually you want to have your own content. But fuck, dude, if it's like sometimes we'll have shit, but it's not exactly what we need. So I'll send what we have and then I'll send something else. Just like we don't have any, because foam rolling, the Piriformis and the glutes, that's not as efficient as the ball. So we've only filmed doing the ball. So that's why, what did I send you? Some person on YouTube that was doing it correctly. And so that was when you told me that the guy didn't even send you anything. I'm like, come on, dude, you could have sent him, even if it was anybody's video, as long as it was correct.
And that's why, like I was telling you, both him and you were both really like the set. Like I would have to set if I had to pick any two people, it'd have been him and you. He was trying to get me more into like the mental about it, and then also like he gave me part of my thing, which was expensive, by the way.
They always are, buddy. They always are.
Well, yeah, and then he gave me a scale, and he gave me a food scale to measure my stuff. That's what I was.
He gave you a scale, but didn't show you how to use it. Here you go.
That's what I was saying. Like, look, I'm actually. Skylar knows that because I've done the Ready Weight program before, and I struggled with with counting the macros and all that stuff. But the thing is that like if you send me right now, I'm going to be serious. I'm trying to change the way I eat, and like I was having a lot of health issues with my throat, so I can't even have orange juice anymore. Mm-hmm. So like I realized a lot of things over time, so I did change it. Was it the last time we were doing? He's like, "How's your workouts, buddy?" I'm like, I haven't been doing them because like I don't know if I have like a pinched nerve or like my back was hurting. I don't know what it was. Or the horrible chair I was sitting in didn't help. At work didn't help. And then I was sleeping bad too. But the thing is, I feel like it was a pinched nerve because I took some medication to help out, but it didn't help. I got good, but I still felt the
How'd the rolling help, buddy?
I didn't get a chance to do it yet because I've been busy. So I'm gonna check it out.
Gotcha.
The roller.
I was gonna say the roller will help because that's a real good example. Good thing with self-myofascial releases, a lot of times it is a tight muscle pushing down on like a nerve. Like fuck, Mike, you remember when we used to get stingers in football and stuff like that?
Yep.
The numbness running down your arm or the hotness running down your arm, that's the nerve. But you will feel it in fitness, JR, because like sciatica, a lot of people that get sciatica, it's because they're so tight, they push it down on it. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what it is. So what we'll do is we'll have you try those videos, and if you're super tender,
down. That's why I'm glad. Like it's not too bad. But the thing is that something you sent me videos for. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that I was asking him with the food count. I know how to cook my food, and I've changed the way I found out a lot of things myself doing the research. But the thing is that like something like that, and on top of it, like you guys are flexible. You know, you guys are really flexible to the tailor of the modern man. And I say that average Joe because of the fact that, you know, what I was telling you guys earlier, like life happens, shit happens. I can't go to the gym, you know, and then something happens, or that's what you guys tailor with, especially with the counting. The thing is that, you know, as trainers, that you're going to have to count. They're going to figure out on their own. If they're not changing anything, their weight's not changing, they're getting the results that they want, then guess what? And they're coming back to you like, well, did you do this? I'm like, oh no, then that's probably what's happening. But we'll do, like I said, you guys try to cater to a lot of things. You know, it's flexible.
Yeah, man, we've had a lot of people where they don't measure, but like we said, like if you're not losing weight or getting to where you want to be with your goals, dropping body fat, whatever the goals may be, then we always try to tell them like that the next step is to add in the tracking, so we actually have data to go off of. Because if we don't have that data, but then if like JR, if you're dropping weight, we're never going to hound you about counting. But if you're like, you're not losing weight and you're not upset about it, then we're not going to ride your ass either. But if you're like, I'm not losing weight, I'm doing everything, that's when we're like, okay, well, let's see the MyFitnessPal logs. Let's see what you've been doing. I can see your training, but let's see your training logs. Oh, I didn't work out for 2 weeks and I haven't tracked my calories for 2 weeks. Okay, so we do know what to do. We just don't know if we're getting where we need to be. And that's what it is with a lot of people. And it's like you said, a lot of coaches won't be flexible with people like that. They're gonna get pissed about it. I mean, goddamn, that's why people are so scared to tell us stuff, because the people they've worked with in the past, Mike, or it's not even personal trainers, it's coaches, where they're like, God, I can't tell Skylar or Mike that I didn't track my food. Or we don't get mad about it. We just, like JR said, we're just gonna explain it to you. Like, if we do it, we can ensure we get you to where you want to be. But if we don't, like we're kind of working blind, you know.
And you guys,
guesswork.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you give that human touch, you know what I'm saying? That quality, you know, that we can't give everybody the answers, but we could just nudge them a little bit to them realizing it for themselves. And that's what another thing with your program does, is that you give all the information there, and there, it's right there. There's no secrets. I'm not going to throw you any hidden fees, no nothing. It's all right there. So what are you going to do with it? You know,
well, I just had a girl where I had to get on the phone with her in our last group, Mike, where she was doing a lot with her kids. They're eating a lot of fast food. So I went through and found a bunch of like macro breakdowns of the best food to eat at all the fast food restaurants. And I sent it over to her because I noticed she was posting and then she wasn't posting. So I was just like, this is weird. I haven't heard from her in a couple of weeks in the group. So then I hit her up, and it's like JR. The nice thing is we do have it there, but then we do come check on you. Like if we're not hearing from you, you got to have some internal motivation.
And either if you want to do online training, well, guess what? Ready to Win is a good program to use online.
Well, the biggest thing is just trying to be as accessible as possible, you know, and going to their house is great. You know, one of the things, I made a post about the intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. One of the things I tell people when people are like, I have to work with somebody. I'm like, motherfucker, unless you work with somebody 5 days a week, you got to have a little bit internal. You got to be able to do a little bit by yourself, or it ain't going to happen. Like, I'm not going to be a fucking dick, but this is the truth. I tell people, you had to come, even let's just say it was 2 days a week. 2 days a week, there's a lot of other days where you still have to be walking or watching what you're eating. And, you know, so that's the funny thing. It's usually the people that are like, I have to be with somebody. Yeah, they'll come to you and they'll work out real hard for that hour. But then the rest of that day, they do shit. The rest of the week that they're not with you, they eat like shit. I don't know if Mike does as much, but at my facility down here in Florida, I use our Ready to Win program as a filter program for my brick and mortar. I had a lady that was pregnant, and she was local, so she's one of the few ones that I've brought on before everybody else I've made do the online program. Mike's got a bigger facility than I do. I've got a small facility now where I get to really handpick the people that come in there, you know, and I tell you this, Mike, there's one girl where she's like, oh, I just really want to come in with you. And I told her, I was like, I really don't let people come in here, but she knew Richie, one of my good friends here. And so I let her come in. She lasted about a fucking week and then was out. And I told Richie, I said, see, this is why I do the fucking online program first. Because then when she fucking skips out on that and then she wants to come brick and mortar, I don't want your money. I don't want to waste my time and energy. Another thing is I tell people, you didn't do what you needed to do with the program and all that stuff, like, come back and do it again. There's a ton of people that will do the program and come back and do it again. So that's always an option. Well, Mike, why don't we figure out what we want to talk about on our next one? hypertrophy and
Yeah.
endurance and strength training.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I
Cool.
think that would be a good. That was a good first one. I mean, it
Yeah, yeah.
really attacks some of the things that people struggle with. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
for
The
sure.
most in the beginning, because a lot of people are fairly new to the weight room. So, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
bro, even the ones that aren't new, dude. And I'm not gonna say any names, but there's a gentleman that I train right now, and well, I mean, it happens all the time with the new guys. But the new guys will always be like, and I just had it happen again, so that's why it's relevant here. But they'll say, "I want to." They're doing hypertrophy training, right? Like they're doing just chest, just back, just, and I have them training that way. And then we switch to strength, which is like you're doing quads, you're doing push with your legs and push with your chest. You're doing Olympic lifts and deadlifts. You're doing back day with your deadlifts. You know, you're putting multiple muscle groups together. So every time they're like, do you think we could go back to the training that we were doing before? I'm like, fuck no, we cannot go back to hypertrophy. We have to go into strength. I was like, now, if you want to change the strength, because I do a lot of conjugate method with guys that are more advanced, but some of them, bro, like mentally, like they want to go back to what they used to do. They want to go back. And that's what the importance is. And what I told them, I was like, I don't want you to think I'm ranting, but I was like, if we don't get stronger, when you do hypertrophy, it will take you longer to build muscle. So that's why it's so important and relevant to do strength training and rotate it. I get it. Most people do that type of, for me, dude, when I first started doing hypertrophy, I hated it because I had strength trained from 12 years old to like 24. And then when I got out of football, I started doing more like hypertrophy, spot training and things like that. So I always wanted to go back to strength. A lot of these people are doing more hypertrophy, single body parts, single muscle groups, and they always want to switch back. So I think that'd be a good talk to do. So we can just start to reiterate like, hey, I get that you like hypertrophy. I get it that it's your main goal, but the reason you need to do strength is because it will help you in your hypertrophy training, or vice versa. Hypertrophy is always good for strength athletes, especially if they want to gain size. So we'll go through, talk about all that, talk about endurance, you know, like people that think CrossFit's really, really good workout. It's just endurance training. Or like those girls from my high school that think these fucking little boot camp things are real awesome. They're like, I just did leg day. I'm like, you did body weight squats and body weight lunges. You've been doing that for 6 months. Can you please get some goddamn weight? Like at a certain point, that's cool, but you're just spinning your tires now. You've been doing it for half a year. You're still doing body weight shit. Like we got to progress it. That you have to progress it. So we'll talk about that.